And, and next I would like to invite the host of SPP 5, the government of Nepal, through Joint Secretary Padma Mainalee, a good friend. We know each other since the earthquake of 2015 in Nepal, but much more also since I start to learn from his important work in the ministry and with the Asian Development Bank on setting up a task force working in Nepal on the urban corridor development and the economic development of Nepal through spatial planning. Has worked on important national urban development strategies for the government, for urban policy review and the review of the Urban Development Act. Yeah, and by the way, the speakers are here because of their own preferences by these 4 sessions. And Mr. Mainalee, you wanted to address this session on economic infrastructure development and management systems. I have already given away why, but we hear more from you. Please.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Bruno. Thank you for making me be a part of the conference, and thank you for Government of Japan, UN Habitat, and Government of Indonesia for invitation and hospitality extended to us. In this conference, I would, let me check. In this conference, based on urban policy and the National Urban Development Strategy, I'm going to present a national spatial planning and federal context of Nepal, together with institutions involved and their simple dynamics evolving. Nepal is a country of very little, less than 150,000 square kilometer, and has 3 tiers of government. Yeah, and 7 provinces and 753 municipalities. That's all the governments and for service delivery, and 77 units that are more administrative one. The cross-section of the country shows that the flatland in south in India has a very easy connection to India, and whereas the connection to China as in north, we have a very difficulty in that, so that we have to find a pass through the high mountains. So this geography actually guides us overall planning and connections in networks. Once we think the national space, we think about the connections available in these 2 giant countries. Because I'm just talking about around 28, 23 million people, 29 million people, because the Mumbai itself has a 30 million or 20 million like that. So from the settlement perspective as well, we see that the flat plain connected with network of the valleys in the mid hills, and with the smaller settlements in the north have some connection with the places through the passes in China. So with this, the connections are in the form of the highway, hill roads, and railway in a small portion. And 3 points of water network was also opened to India and shifted to, and is still to be realized. High mountain trek, that I can just show here. And that's also to be of is an aspiration and crosses with different settlements, cultures, and of course a diverse landscape. In 2007, how does it work? In 2007, we conceived a national urban policy to achieve real national, balanced national urban structure. The balancing means that with a different region in south, there is something, yeah. From the south, from east to west, and balance in economic prosperity and the interconnections in north and south. So that a system of interconnection is established in national space, so that this becomes an economic drive for the country. Urban population still remains around, recent study shows that around 27%, but aspirations to be urban is around 2/3 of the urban population, because municipal populations is around 66%. That's the population staying in the municipality. They are considered as a municipality area, and its cluster and regions, and even in the corridors. With this, we conceived a theory of urban system with in which we aspire to be urban area in a sustainable exchange of goods and services. I'll explain it later. I mean, just in a moment what this urban system works out. Economically, there are 8 economic command areas with 8 cities actually, and two of them are additional status with the provincial capitals. So among these 10, only 3 are in the mid valley area, the Pokhara, Surkhet, and Kathmandu. All other 7 are in southern area, connecting to Indian rail yards all the way. This is the economic reality, and we have to, and this importance of international connectivity as well in a national space. So settlement connecting China has still to be economically matured. If we see the settlement pattern in national space, it again follows the interconnections in flat area, around 50% in Tarai, the flat area, 8 major valleys in mid-hills, and 7 major urban corridors. These are dispersed, and other than that, are dispersed in municipal areas across the country. So in 2017, we further developed a national urban development strategy, conceiving with 5 guiding principles, 4 mechanisms, and 4 thematic areas in which this urban system also remains one of the major ones. This urban system actually goes on like this. We conceive this urban system in national space. Each system is to connect at least 1 point in China and many points in India. So this is actually a scheme of it. If it connects one point in China and many points in India, and exchange of goods and services are sustainable within that region, we call it an urban system. If that is mature, then we call it mature. If not, then it's a more like evolving one. So conceiving this urban approach, a kind of game changer, the concept of corridor is revisited with delineation of functional space, defined by 1 hour travel time all the way. And this made a recognition of area of interest for mature and evolving urban system for the contribution to national at an economic level. It also includes the strategy of integrated development and capital investment plans. Now, after federalism, we have federalism in 2015. We closely see that 7 themes, and with the institutions, we still need to be matured. Matured in action, as they are conflicting dynamics at conceptual level and the issue of the land all the way. If we see, based on this, a new urban policy is under consideration with some of the 3-4 objectives of making urban systems in a national space, so that resource mobilization and intergovernmental coordination be positive. Therefore, the investment in either evolving region or matured system is conceived to have an interconnection and to the market in north in China and south in India. So I see that there is a necessary, and also I also see that there is a consensus on agreeing that urban system is a strategy for investments, for the economic development all the way. So also for the sustainable network of settlements. Based on this, regional spatial development plan is considered so that settlement and interconnections are planned accordingly. This is detailing of the national vision and encouragement of the federal units to work together. I feel hierarchy of economic infrastructure will be conceptualized and integrated accordingly, so that common platform is achieved. So as land is a coordinator of, the land is a coordinator of all development activities. Its role is more important, so that we have a recent act of and Land Use Act 2019, in which we have a land use delineation, so that the implementer had the high regards and right at the municipality. In order to achieve this, institutional setup needs to continue, contribute in a similar nature. So the capacity of subsetting of this national agenda at province and local levels still has a limitation, but there are different tools are expected. Urban Development Act is one of that, utility corridors, and national and provincial plans, and land use councils at different levels are also expected to be in a place. This shows that, recent connectivity in which we see urban system is evolving all the way. So this is the map showing the interconnection in which we can see that this urban systems is evolving. So that I propose in SPP that we perform to encourage a kind of economic infrastructure development could be a real area of contribution in which we can actually see SPP can contribute. And secondly, among government units, we can think about how major economic infrastructure be invested, and that to be shared among the governments and focusing on that. Last but not least, SPP creates a knowledge product every year. The last year also that, from the last year's experience, our politicians are so motivated that seeing this spatial planning kind of things is actually, necessary for the country, and as Professor Shashwat said, is the whole of the government approach, so that we can think of that. I propose that this seems to be a very important for knowledge products to really institutionalize, and so that this knowledge product could perform better in our platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mainalee. Was an upbeat message, and let me explain a bit. When you were doing the National Urban Development Strategy work in 2017, it coincided with the constitutional reform. Many things were unknown, and then suddenly, as happens with planning, then you think it's stuck. It's a report on the shelf. Beautiful drawings, and what next? So I'm actually very happy to see that you are now upbeat, more upbeat even than a few months back, that these things start to come together in Nepal. And that is what matters. It's the Urban Development Acts and the related institutional reforms that come together, the adjustments to this new constitutional reality of empowered provinces. And not forgetting a basic issue that also came up in this presentation, what is so important is that it's not in isolation, it's not just national, the importance of the transnational connections. Because if certain regions are left behind, and we will hear that I think also in other presentations today, if certain regions in the country are left behind, they can be empowered through transnational connections. They are often closer to other regions, but the infrastructure, the development, the investments, etc., do not back that up. So I'm happy that all those messages